So the first thing we're going to talk about news-wise is obviously we had the third-party panel at TFcon, and I mean there was well over 420 slides, and there's tons of stuff that was revealed. What I'll do to not make this whole segment a million hours long is I'm going to link the slides in the description of the video here, and you could check it out individually and everything. So what we're going to do instead is just talk about the few that we do that we're excited about in general, of all the stuff that's been revealed, and a lot of stuff was revealed here, a lot of crazy stuff. So Wendell, what picked your fancy this year, 2018, from the third-party panel?
For me, it was DX9 K2 Ancestor.
Yep, I was going to say that one
so
too.
Tell
me why.
Their little Zoid thing. You know, I've always liked the aesthetics of Zoids, but I never really got into buying the model kits or buying the wind-up model kits and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And to see this, this little art exercise that somebody did some time ago become toys is pretty cool. I think that's one of the most awesome things and one of the more original things we're getting out of third party. You know,
what Wendell's referring to is K2 Ancestor DX9. Originally, the design itself came from a fanzine that was released, I'd want to say 2015, and it featured a lot of G1 interpretations if they were beasts, so to speak, like a jazz that was a horse or a zebra, just a whole bunch of weird designs in there. And so now some of these are coming to fruition, and one of the first ones is, of course, as you said, this Ancestor Rod, which is very
if I remember right, one of the first ones was the Prime, was the Optimus Primal one.
Yeah, the Primal
that was one of the first ones. So this is probably a second one, or one of the next ones.
I believe this is the second one. But again, this thing is incredible. I'm also excited about it for two reasons. Number one, because it's a Rodimus figure. And number two, very Zoids in aesthetic, very Liger Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. I mean, this is something that, again, third party does what Hasbro would not do, and I'm really hyped about it. So what else you got?
I think it's TFC Toys, ST Commander, their TF versus G.I. Joe Optimus Prime. So it's the Rolling Thunder.
Rolling Thunder.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I remember seeing this trying to be done a few years ago, and like, oh, this is gonna be super cool, and it just never came out.
Yeah.
So
the original one, to my knowledge, was going to be done by, I think, Mastermind Creations, all those years ago, and this is when Mastermind Creations was still a new company.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't really have third party down to a science yet.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mastermind today is a whole different animal. But back then, those early days, it was still a learning curve, and they ended up never releasing their version because of a lot of just production problems and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that was, I want to say it was almost 10 years ago. It was a long time ago. So now things have changed, and now it's...
And the thing I'm definitely, like, looking through the pictures again, the vibe I'm getting heavily by this is Robots in Disguise Optimus Prime. So basically, like how the fire truck, the bits and pieces would come off, and it would add on as power armor kind of thing, and then soup them up. So I'm getting that a lot. You know, you could take the power armor, put it together, and make like a standing platform to shoot all the weapons, and then you could add them onto him as well. So that's something I didn't catch the first time around because I wasn't there at the third party panel because of con obligations. But taking a look again and definitely looking at it. Taking my time looking at it, I'm like, this is really cool. And also some really good Photoshop and art by them as well, just to really sell it, like him walking through, like a war area kind of thing, and you have all these little turrets that are around him and everything like that, and then the base is set up. So I'm really digging it. I'm really digging how they kind of, are really marketing this and really pushing it. And I always... Like when I was younger, I know there's Transformers and G.I. Joe spin-off books and stuff like that, but you never get to see it in toy view. And I think the closest we ever got to that was Human Alliance.
Well, we got that. We had some not crossovers. And like there was an Energon toy called Snowcat that turned into a G.I. Joe Snowcat, but it wasn't a G.I. Joe versus Transformer toy. It was more just, hey, you know, coincidence. And then of course we had like G.I. Joe versus Transformer SDCC stuff, but they weren't transforming toys. They were more just, let's take a G.I. Joe vehicle, give it Transformer colors, and say it's that character, just not transforming. Like we've always had that, like the halfway attempts, but never something that was fully done. And third party is giving us that at least.
Yeah, exactly.
What was cool also, I wanted to mention about this, that we've talked about this in the past, this specific item. But it's the first time I'm seeing now there's like a roller accessory also that's included too. I didn't see that before in the past, which is really cool. So on top of all of this, it still has a little nods to G1 Optimus Prime, not just in aesthetic and color, but also in his little buddy roller.
Yeah, his little buddy roller has is just carrying the giant gun when it's in when it's not attached to him or anything like that. I don't even know if it does attach to him, but
probably his handgun.
Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, it's really cool. It looks like it works with Titan Masters. We've talked about it before, and also they show Titan Masters. They also show the Diclon pilots and everything. Yeah. So it's a lot of play value here, a lot of display value. Again, taking that iconic Rolling Thunder from G.I. Joe with its 2 nuclear missiles that it could launch and everything, and just seeing what they could do Transformer related with it. I don't know. I don't know if they're. Sorry, I just wanted to say, I don't know if there's no mention if they're going to do a repaint in traditional colors, but I mean, so far we have it just in traditional colors, being obviously the greens and dark greens of the original Rolling Thunder, but I mean, it still looks good in Optimus Prime colors.
I'm always a sucker for Power Armor Optimus Prime, like just add on extra stuff, and then the fact that the add-on doesn't get in the way of him posing or doing anything cool, like it works, it attaches on, it just makes him a little bit bigger, but it doesn't make him clunky. That's one thing I do like about it. I got 2 more. I'm really digging all the Mayhem Mekanics stuff, so their unrustable line basically. I do like the little homages that they do, or at least the nods that they do to various other series, like their what are they called? Sewer Barons, which is basically the Ninja Turtles. I think is pretty cool.
The Yamazukis.
Yeah, and they all have their different colors here and there and all that kind of stuff. There was another one. There's the Yamazuki. No wait, what? The Crimson Kings reminds me of like Spacesuit Atmos.
Okay.
If you remember that, is like they have like the one eye kind of thing going on. I think they do another one here that looks like Viacons, I think.
Which one are you referring to?
Which one? Hold on, let me just go back here. The trash Torkers.
Okay.
Like I think that icon on their chest is supposed to be like not Viacons, but Beast Machines. So you know, maybe I don't know. I'm trying to figure out where
we'd have to ask Sid, who's in charge of this. I'm pretty sure he'd let us know what they're trying to directly.
Like I'm trying to figure out what they're trying to do there, but I'm probably not gonna get it very well. But I'm just kind of giving a really quick.
Because like I know like there's some like part of his Valkyrie series, right? He has some of the like these female ones that use like black and yellows.
Yeah.
And that reminds me a lot of Tricky Diamond, which is one of the Sakamoto created combiner limbs from Megatronia, excuse me. It looks like it's a direct homage to that, and it's really cool. So like there's a lot of interesting throwback.
There's another one I'm gonna point out, Viper Ronin, which is like a snake eyes in black, and then when it's in the other color, it's the ninja from Metal Gear Solid. Like that's what the eye mold is definitely supposed to be, the one eye. I feel like that's what they're trying to do.
Battle mask.
Yeah. And you know, and they have like some vehicles as well, some like four wheelers and stuff like that. So I'm definitely digging what they're doing. Like, you know, they're just taking that idea and kind of going further along with it, and also like messing around and paying homages here and there. So I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely enjoying it.
Any others?
And one last one. It is Toyworld TWCO 7D, aka Jazz, and it's supposed to be a small Jazz, I think. We have it next to
I think it's Giant.
I'm pretty sure it's a third party.
I think it's Giant. I'm not sure which third party Devastator it is, but I think it's Giant.
I don't think it is.
I know I'm not good. I'm not good with it. Like there were so many Devastators.
I do have Giant myself, and I don't think that's him.
Then maybe Hercules.
Yeah, I think it's the other one. But I'm digging the way it looks, because it looks more like a traditional Jazz mold, like a more traditional Porsche, and it just looks really cool. If it comes out and it's very nice and articulated, it's got double jointed elbows and everything, and it just looks like, tiny Jazz,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just digging it. I think that's the last one I got here.
For me, I'll start with the first one that was also in the display case on display. We're going to start with Hoodlum, Fantoys -17 Hoodlum, which is their masterpiece attempt at masterpiece hot rod that originally when Hasbro did their hot rod, and I'm not referring to MPO9, I'm referring to their newer one that they did, there was a lot of issues that people had in terms of the silhouette and the aesthetic and how the design was handled. And Fantoys went about fixing a lot of those little aesthetic quirks and stuff like that. But I do have some criticisms that kind of confused me. So the toy was on display, so I was able to see it also, and especially when the deal room was closed, me going to the display and really looking it over, if you know what I mean. And one of the issues that I do have with it is the choice of the spoiler. Now, for most people that don't realize it, Hot Rod and Rodimus Prime sport two different aesthetical spoilers depending on which design they're in. Hot Rod himself has a very elongated, flatter kind of spoiler. That found both, if you wanted to look for it in a toy form, look at, again, the second masterpiece, Hot Rod, or the best example being Metal Force Rodimus. The pursuit I've always felt to achieve maximum show accuracy is anyone Google this, Metal Force I think it's not Metal Force, Metal Verse. I believe I keep forgetting what they keep calling it. One moment. I just want to be sure that way when people do the search, the exact words that they could use to find this. Pretty much, there was a statue that was supposed to be originally like an alarm clock. That's what they were planning to do. Okay. And it ended up not happening, and they weren't going to use it. And in the end, they still had the casted mold and design for it, and they're like, well, what are we going to do with this and everything? Okay, so here's the name. So they ended up making a little like PVC statue out of this, and it was called Metal Force Hot Rodimus or Metal Force Hot Rod.
Oh, okay.
Either one. This statue, in my opinion, out of every piece of Hot Rod merchandise that exists, transformable statues or otherwise, is the most show-accurate representation of that character. It's the Fluoro Deary animation 86 movie model to a T. And what's good about this statue is that it's a very good reference point for how a three-dimensional figure of this character should look if ever you choose to then go and make a third-party transformable one of it. When they did the remake Masterpiece Hot Rod, they got almost every aesthetic cue perfectly down to a T, and then they screwed up the chest, where they made it very square. They put that Matrix gimmick in the chest, which was pointless for a character that's only going to be Hot Rod. So then I was like, okay, Fantoys is going to fix that. And they did. They fixed the chest and everything. They didn't need a Matrix gimmick. But then they got confused because while they were like, okay, we don't need the Matrix gimmick, like, it's just Hot Rod. He just needs to have that perfect look. They end up giving him the Rodimus Prime or Rodimus Convoy spoiler. That's why if you look at the alt mode, like if you look at the car mode of Hot Rod, it looks kind of weird with that spoiler. Right. That's because it's the wrong spoiler. He's supposed to have a much more wider, flatter kind of spoiler. And then they went about giving him an extra face sculpt that makes him look like Rodimus Prime too, which again, it's like why? Like, the rest of the toy doesn't, sport that maroon color and everything like that. I personally feel what they should have done is, forget the extra face. I understand it's a bonus accessory and everything. They should have just went with the 2 guns, go with the proper spoiler, like the regular normal spoiler. And if you want to throw in an extra accessory, throw in like a firebolt or something. Like throw in like a target master, or I don't know, a fishing rod.
Well, they do have they do have an image of him with a target master.
Yeah,
but I'm not sure if that's the official one or if that's theirs.
And then what they could do afterwards is, if they want to then again milk this mold, then release it again, give it the more maroons and darker Rodimus Prime colors, give him the spoiler you have here now, and then give him that Rodimus Prime face sculpt there. I have a lot of, I'm very picky when it comes to getting that perfect hot rod toy. Like, it's this endless pursuit for me in a lot of ways to just get finally the perfect hot rod figure. And it isn't there yet, and I'm surprised that Hoodlum, that had all this hype and everything, it's 95% of the way there. It's almost there, and it's just, they got to fix that spoiler. That spoiler has got to go, and it's because it's the wrong aesthetic. It's the Rodimus Prime spoiler. Like, anyone who messed with MP9, and part of the gimmick was the spoiler was articulated, there was a reason for that, because hot rod, wide spoiler. Rodimus Prime, sharper spoiler, or Rodimus Convoy. But either way, I mean, it still looks spectacular. It's still a lot nicer looking than what Takara's done it to this point. Mm-hmm. They fixed the gaps in the shoulder areas in a different way. They kept the pop collar area looking nice. Everything looks great. When I was messing with the toy from all different angles and everything, one thing that was perplexing to me is there's actually some tabs in the back. None of the photos online show this, so what I'm going to be talking about is kind of confusing the people.
All right.
There's actually tabs in the back of the legs. I don't know if that's related to the transformation. I haven't messed with it that far, but I mean, there's got to be something going on. Another cool thing too, it has the opening cockpit, so a nice little extra nod to the '86 movie.
Yeah. That
it's still able to do what when they went to Lookout Mountain.
Mm-hmm,
but otherwise looks spectacular, scales well with your other fans' toys masterpieces, and of course your actual masterpieces. I mean, when you look at it, it looks pretty much like a retooled Takara version in a lot of ways. I mean, especially when you see it in person, you almost go like, "Oh, is this the Takara one?" But someone customized it.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's great. Otherwise, just they got to do something about that spoiler. The other one that I want to talk about too. And there's only 2 that really, like, out of all of this stuff that really caught my attention in general, is I really love everything that Iron Factory does. They do a lot of really cool stuff, and they are doing a lot of different legend scales of a lot of iconic characters. And of course, like, I'll just mention quickly, I'm really stoked about all the DJD Decepticon Justice Division guys they're doing from Tarn and Voss and Helix and Kaon. I know I'm forgetting somebody. But the one that really caught my eye was I think it's called Shriek's Feather or whatever, Shrike's Feather, the Slipstream.
Oh.
The Slipstream looks really, really good, and so like that's
funny
really...
because when I read it, I thought it said Shriek's father, and I was like, I'm reading that wrong, or I'm having a stroke or something.
I think it's Shrike's. It's an interesting way to say it, but so Shrike's Feather, and looks really good. I like that the big eye, anime eye kind of aesthetic on it. It looks really nice. I've always felt that Slipstream had a very unique color scheme that really has never existed in Transformers before, outside of like maybe Lugnut,
that's true.
Who also debuted in the same series as her. So it's like she possessed a very interesting combination of colors, and just her whole history from the early days of Lady in Purple, and just I really like the character. And her getting an Iron Factory release just adds to that also, and so that's pretty darn cool. That's really it of the third parts. There's a lot of great stuff. I mean, the ones that you mentioned before too, like the Ancestor and everything, like they caught my attention. There's a company that's make toys. They're also doing some kind of Rodimus related item here called MDCD2, but they just showed some like schematic CG stuff with no description of what's going on. So I have no idea what that's supposed to be. So I'm not excited about something I don't know. It's a hot rod something, but I don't know what it is yet. Some people were saying that it's related to the IDW verse. I don't see that at all in the aesthetic. I talked about it with people after the convention, and they were like, "Oh, I think it's gonna be an IDW Rodimus." I'm like, "It doesn't look like one, judging by these schematics." But I think because the accompanying stuff of that line, because they gave a lot of teasers, they had a very IDW looking kind of Galvatron, and obviously what was a Brainstorm, who was also big in the More Than Meets the Eye comic books by IDW. But those ones, yeah, I could see that. But I don't see it with the Rodimus, so we'll definitely see as time progresses, and we'll definitely talk about it when that comes around. But that's more or less it for the third-party panel at TFcon. We're going to link to a website that'll have on TFW, that'll have all the slides, so you could see every single slide that everyone at TFcon got to see. And you can make your call of what you like and let us know in the comments.